Today in Across the Fence, a boost for food producers and consumers. We'll see how farmers are extending the growing season by packing away fresh local vegetables during the coldest months of the year. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. One of the many challenges for food producers in Vermont is the relatively short growing season. Now at least part of the problem has been solved. Experts at UVM Extension have helped 10 Vermont farms improve the storage conditions and quality of more than 420 tons of crops. Keith Silva has more on extending the growing season.
At Pete's Greens in Craftsbury, wintertime has become almost as busy as harvest time.
Our business is now almost as big this time of year as it is in August, so we're busy. We got lots of people in here washing and packing things. We harvest lots and lots of crops in October, and many of these crops we can store until the next June or so. But it's critical that conditions be just right. Just above freezing, super high humidity, those are the main characteristics for most crops. But if you get too warm or too cold away from that by much, your storage period really drops quickly.
Pete's Greens is one of the largest producers and distributors of organically grown storage crops like carrots, onions, and potatoes in Vermont.
This storage thing has really helped us to make a well-rounded year-round business where we have quality managerial staff that stays year after year and has really taken a lot of the crazy ebbs and flows out of vegetable farming in a climate like this. You know, we have 3-4 months of good growing around here. And the typical vegetable farm in the past was just ramping up like crazy, selling a bunch of stuff, ramping down super fast, and then everybody disappears. And it's really hard to build a business and build an economy like that. So this has been a really key part of us, really having a better business.
For these vegetables to stay fresh for over 6 months, the temperature and humidity have to remain constant. Half a degree too high or too low means at least a week less of storage time. And any significant temperature changes mean disaster.
We once froze 40,000 pounds of potatoes here. It was a huge loss. It was very sad, and we just didn't have a proper system to monitor it in place.
In Vermont, Pete's Greens may be a major player in the marketplace when it comes to selling storage crops. But outside the Northeast, storage facilities can be several acres in size, making Pete's facility minuscule by comparison. So installing a proper monitoring system is much easier said than done.
This is the kind of stuff where you go online, you check out what, big storage facilities, they have a certain kind of monitoring system, blah, 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 and you contact that company, and you're just not speaking the same language. It's a very different, they're dealing with, acres of storages where people are spending maybe $250,000 to set up the proper monitoring and all this kind of stuff. And it's very different to be able to call up somebody and say, hey, I want the second smallest model of what you have because it's perfect for me. And to call up with somebody and say, hey, I need something 10 times smaller than what you have. And that'll be perfect for me. And they're going to say, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know 10 times smaller.
So what these are little thermistors. They come from the medical industry. They're using catheters.
To find a right-sized monitoring system for his business, Johnson contacted Chris Callahan, an agricultural engineer with University of Vermont Extension. Callahan's solution was to do what engineers do best.
We needed to build this simply because it didn't exist at a price point that made sense for our growers and frankly any small to medium-sized grower throughout the country and the world.
Employees at Pete's Greens would have to manually measure humidity using a sling psychrometer.
As we're slinging this through the air, the wick on the wet bulb of the thermometer is evaporating moisture into the air.
What Callahan designed houses one thermometer to gauge humidity and another to tell temperature.
One of the things that I found as a result of this project is the world of temperature and humidity measurement is really tailored to industrial and commercial processes or buildings. There isn't a whole lot out there that is cost-effective and durable or reliable for agriculture, particularly agriculture at the scale and diversity that we see in Vermont. So part of the challenge has been finding cost-effective, reliable solutions for these types of environments.
Each thermometer connects to a microprocessor that transmits information over the internet. Johnson and his staff can then monitor temperature and humidity readings from anywhere using either a computer or a web-enabled device like a smartphone.
It's a continual process of identifying a need, having a conversation about what might work, giving it a shot with the understanding that it's an on-farm research project, and learning along the way, constant communication, what's working, what isn't.
Pete's Greens is one of 9 sites in Vermont where Callahan is installing these devices. The total cost per unit is about $200.
It's roughly the same cost of an agricultural thermostat, a good quality, accurate agricultural thermostat used in greenhouses and coolers currently. The processor does that calculation.
Johnson appreciates Callahan's assistance, and even more for someone who understands the needs of small, diversified vegetable farmers.
The UVM extension is super available. They come around, they see us, they stop in. You know, I can't say enough. They speak our language. They know you don't have to spend time trying to explain to them what you're trying to do. They get it, and then they go right to work figuring out how to make it happen. It's been indispensable, and it's helped create a new ag landscape in this state that really would have struggled to get going without having that backbone.
The storage facility at Pete's Greens stores more than carrots and potatoes. It's also a warehouse for knowledge that helps farmers monitor their needs as their businesses continue to grow. In Craftsbury, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
The Vermont Working Lands Enterprise Fund provided $40,000 for the winter crop storage project. As a result of that investment, the project has already improved monitoring and storage for more than $900,000 worth of crops. Our next segment also involves food, but this one is about food recovery and composting. First, a little background. Vermont's universal recycling law, which was passed in 2012, takes effect in stages. By 2020, the law mandates that all food scraps be banned from landfills. But already businesses that generate more than a ton of food scraps each week must divert those scraps from the landfill. The changes have prompted entrepreneurs to think about how to turn food scraps into job prospects and improved environment. Let's rejoin Keith Silva for more on that.
The containers outside Commodities Natural Market in Stowe are not for trash. What's inside is a high-value product, and making sure it goes to the right place is the law.
It's materials management. It's no longer waste management.
As stated in Vermont's universal recycling law, materials like metal, glass, and paper are banned from landfills starting July 1st, 2015. In addition, businesses or institutions generating more than 1 ton of food scraps per week are required to send those materials to the nearest compost facility within a 20-mile radius.
Vermont is the only state in the nation that has adopted a full disposal ban on food scraps, which is really innovative, and a lot of other states are looking to us to see how we're doing this and see what tools and resources we have to help with this.
Enter Grow Compost. It specializes in commercial food scrap collection for businesses in central Vermont. What they collect goes, or grows, into their own brand of organic compost.
In 2012, the state of Vermont passed the universal recycling law, which created an opportunity for everyone to understand these materials as valuable resources that could be brought back into our soils, could be quality food that could be fed to people, food for animals, and so we've taken that as our model for our business.
This stop at Commodities Natural Market includes an added bonus. A value-added bonus, so to speak. Along with the compost bins, Grow Compost also picks up recoverable food for donation.
This beautiful lettuce, for instance, that Commodities has for us today, that is just in time before it, can't really sit on the shelf for too many more days. It doesn't feel good to throw, a crate of apples away. Even if you know they're going to compost, when they're perfectly quality edible apples. And so it's a feel-good thing, yeah, but it's also the right thing to do because it does cost a little bit extra. We don't want this to be a cost to those who are donating the food, nor do we want it to be a cost to those who are receiving the food.
Make no mistake, there's a big difference between food that's considered scrap and food that's deemed recoverable.
What we're talking about is the food that has not been served, has not been on anybody's plate. It may be breads that are a day old, bagel shops that put out day old bagels. I mean, those are still quality edible foods, but the quality, that fresh day bagel, is not there. So they may put that out for discount, or, you know, as an option as well, they could donate that to our food shelves in Vermont.
Food recovery is not a requirement in Vermont's universal recycling law, but the legislation does consider the Environmental Protection Agency's food recovery hierarchy,
which sets out as waste reduction first and foremost. Following that is capturing the quality edible food to feed people. To put that into perspective, about 40% of food that goes to waste could have been eaten. And only about 10%, a very small percentage of that waste, and what ends up being wasted food, is rescued for donation and for use in other ways.
Grow Compost has had to modify their trucks so any recovered food is stored safely.
Rescuing food requires that we have separate compartments for those foods that are refrigerated and can hold special containers so that there's not any cross-contamination between the food scraps and the food that is going to people, even the food that's going to animals.
The cost to retrofit or purchase a truck to haul recoverable food is not insignificant.
From $1,000 to $10,000. I mean, you can do it at sort of any level. You know, I wish I could say the bottom line is I make more money doing this. I probably don't. I like to say that it's a kind of a break-even situation. But for us, it makes our customers feel good. It creates more business for us. Most people who are composting are doing it because they care. So if they can find a company whose philosophy is about finding the best use for all this material, I think that only is good for us and for them.
The recovered food is brought to the Community Kitchen Academy at Capstone Community Action in Barrie. The Kitchen Academy is a partnership between the Vermont Food Bank and Capstone Community Action.
We're making a lot of great food.
The Academy helps under- and unemployed Vermonters receive training in the food service industry. All the food Chef Jamie Eisenberg and her students are working with has either been recovered or donated to the Vermont Food Bank.
It's a win-win for everybody. You know, the food that we take here is food that's perfectly good to eat. It just might be a little blemished or maybe a label hanging off of a can or something. Not perfect for the marketplace. So we're helping out the economy by using that product. We're helping out the environment because it's not going to the landfill. It's being used in a training program where people are going to use that to practice their skill sets. And then it's a win for our community because what we do here is everything we make here. We make hundreds of pounds of food a day. All of that food gets packaged and put into our food shelf for the community to get to help sustain them through hard times when they don't really have enough food to eat.
Woohoo! Gorgeous. That is a beautiful looking scramble. Nice.
Eisenberg teaches her students that food that's been recovered, donated, or store-bought is still food. All it needs is to be prepared.
You know, when you're cooking food, you're breaking it down anyway. So we're going to take the product and evaluate it. And if it's something that might be past prime, then we're going to use the cooking method that's going to be the best batch for that product. So yeah, it's a challenge, but I don't think that the product is really any less than it would be if we were to buy it from the marketplace in perfect condition.
Full implementation of Vermont's universal recycling law goes into effect in 2020. Right now, the efforts of Grow Compost and others are bringing new opportunities to Vermont businesses.
It is a feel-good thing, but it's the way we do business. I think it's the way most Vermonters do business.
Recycling, caring for the environment, and giving back to the community. It's not just the law, it's the business of Vermont. In Barrie, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Well, thank you, Keith, and thank you for joining us. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.